You're watching Influence Media, PSI TV, the Netflix of biz brands.
If you enjoyed Narnia or a movie like The Butterfly Effect, you will enjoy the work of my next guest. Bruce Campiglia holds degrees in engineering and business, as well as a PhD in natural health. He's an avid hiker, which I believe influenced some of the environments that his characters in the book, Quest of the Chosen, The Journey Begins, find themselves in. Whether you love to read for entertainment or you're looking to find the book for your next movie to produce, The Quest of the Chosen, The Journey Begins is likely to be a page turner for you where you can get lost and become oblivious to the passing of time. Welcome, Bruce.
Thank you, Judy.
So, Bruce, you are the executive director of One for Health Foundation, which provides community-based wellness programs for kids, focusing on transforming their worldviews of health. Did your involvement in this work have any influence on your writing? And if not, what was the inspiration for Quest of the Chosen, The Journey Begins?
Yes, thanks. Yes, it did, actually. I started One for Health 12 years ago, which is about the same time that I started writing the book. And I did my dissertation based on wellness in America because it focused on why children were the source of that. And you had to correct it there so that they would get on the right path, because 75% of all healthcare costs are really due to chronic illnesses and all that. So yeah, it's the same process in society. So I figured that, hey, this is, the kids are so important in this, that's what I wanted to do. So I wanted to expand that health feeling into a book.
So Quest of the Chosen, The Journey Begins is the first book in a series, I understand. Now, I bought this book and I read it, and I understand that book 2 is already available, but I haven't read that one yet. That book is Other Light, The Quest Continues. Now, I'm sure there are binge readers out there, because I know I'm a binge reader, and there are even binge TV series as well. Now, this is a kind of like a 2-3 part question. How long did it take you to produce these 2 books? And then how many books do you think are going to be in the complete series?
Okay, so it took 10 years to complete the first book because I had a full-time job at the time. And that was quite a process. But it took 2 years to do Other Light, which is the second one in the series, as you pointed out. And there'll be 5 books in the series. Basically, there's 4 kids in the series, one from Palestine, one from Hong Kong, one from North Dakota, Morningstar, Lakota Sioux, and Zach, who's in Detroit. So we focus on their each hometown and issues in society, in the world, based on where they are. So there's a book that's centered there. The second book is in Jerusalem, where Leah lives, in Palestine. The first book is really a generic book for where they basically find themselves and meet.
I don't know how generic it is. It didn't feel generic to me. The characters I felt were well developed. You almost want to hear their story as it unfolds, and I think you set the stage probably for the series that's coming up. So maybe that's what you mean by generic. It's kind of like more of a composite setup, but It didn't feel generic. It felt it definitely, it's like when you're watching a movie or a television show and it has a series and it's like cliffhangers and you're like, what's coming next? You can't wait for the next one, which is why book 2 is already out, and why I asked you how many there are going to be, because you almost want to know, well, how, when am I going to get done with this? When am I going to know the end of the story, kind of a thing. But Bruce, your book is didactic. It's a writing strategy that uses stories to teach moral or ethical lessons. Would you agree that was the strategy or the method you use? And what was your intention when you started writing the whole Light Passer series?
Yeah, I have to agree that it is sort of didactic in that sense, that there is sort of lessons and it's coming, and the information's coming in. I think I try to do it a little bit different way, where I get them away and I have the setting, and it's a third party sort of mystical person. It's not really me, but of course I'm in the characters, a piece of me. I learn from the characters as I go along. As I write these books, I learn a lot. But basically, it's me sort of giving some of these messages and having them explain them also at campfires through letters that they send, that they get. And so I try to make it through the storytelling that it's not so didactic that people might shy away from it. And then I take it, that book I take, and I take a lot of those elements of the fantasy and mysticism and all that kind of into the series, which are based in reality.
Okay, so the way that these children disappear from their home environments into this new adventure, it's like a flash of light kind of disappearing. They're in one place and then suddenly they're in another, in this unknown place. They all find themselves in this unknown place. It has a kind of a religious feel. It's not a religious book, but it had a religious feel. It kind of reminded me of Narnia. They go through the cupboard, they find themselves in another place, or like in Christianity, the rapture kind of concept. What exactly is this light passer experience?
Yeah, so you're right in a way. It is it's not so much religious as it is spiritual, and a little bit of fantasy and this kind of stuff in it. And therefore, the religious nature of it is really the common core elements of religions that lend themselves to that sort of spiritual or common experience that everybody has when they visit a religion. But you're right about Narnia, that because C.S. Lewis and J.R. Tolkien of Lord of the Rings, like they're my heroes as a writer. So you'll see sort of that type of feel in there. And in fact, The Hobbit of Lord of the Rings is a sort of like quest. It sets a tone in the beginning. It's a fantasy. It sets a tone. In my series, that's quest. And then when you move into the other books, it has less fantasy elements, still carries a fantasy, so carries some of the mysticism, but it's also a blend of history and philosophy and all this into the programs in a real situation. And that's the idea. And the passing of the light, the last light passer experience, is really learning about themselves, being able to see that light within, and then passing it to others. So it's that learning process, and then passing it on to other people, pass it on. That's the whole notion of bottom up, pass it on. And that's what they have to go through in that process. And I try to make it as exciting, more like a story, like you're saying, a story. Tell the story, thriller. It's a thriller, mystery, adventure. I want it to be that, but I want it to also be based in reality, so to speak, and have those elements as well.
Yeah. So, now I found this quote when I read the book. I found this quote. I felt it was pivotal to the story. It certainly resonated with me, just where I'm at in my life right now. So I'm going to read your quote. It says, "Stand before that mirror with a calm mind. You will see that there are two of you, the one in the mirror and the one observing the one in the mirror. The one in the mirror is just a reflection of the physical you. The observer is the real you. The false self, the one that is created by your mind, that is your ego." Great. I love the writing style right there too. Now, this self-discovery journey is fundamental and foundational to this book. And the readers may be able to observe themselves to some extent through your characters. And I think that's partly why they're from various backgrounds and different flavors of character. But I point this out because it's my educated opinion that while your book may read like a story, I think it can make a person go, did you intend to really tap into that human psyche, or is that a happy accident?
Well, that's a good question. So I did actually intend to tap into it, because I felt, although I believe the kids, as I said before, were really what we needed to get behind to change the country, to change the world and all that. And I found in my own journey, personally, I was really looking back and trying to find myself. I kept going back to thinking, when I was 15, I was a pretty good guy. So what happened? So I look at that and say, a lot of people have this type of experience. They found some time in their life they get confused with it. And we have this whole thing where we have this baggage that we carry along through life, that we're born with, our society, our teachers. And we become this person, but we don't even know who that is, which we're told who it is. So it's that journey of trying to find out who that really is. and pass it on. So, and to me, that was the basis for this whole thing. So it was, in fact, intentional that I did this. But it also, I learned along the way, as I mentioned, even with the kids. And I hope that, like you said, that part of those kids is in everybody. And they'll see that. They'll see these pieces. It's not just that kid. And they do teach us.
I agree. I do agree. It's almost like red pill, blue pill, go back in time, or
Yeah. Well,
now
yeah.
that you've learned a lesson as an adult, what do you do with this information? So, Bruce, you invite your readers on this mission with the kids to pass their light to others and to change the world. And on your website, the website is lightpassers.com, and we will put that in the credits for you guys so you don't make a mistake typing it in. But on your website, you say there comes a time when we must all lead to help others and to help ourselves. Now, in the context of the light passing experience, the self-discovery, unpack all of that for me. What do you mean by there comes a time when we must all lead? I don't know that everybody understands they must all lead, but that's what you're saying. And to help others and to help ourselves.
Okay, yeah, I found that part of self-discovery you can help people with is get them to try to lead, because they get their confidence, and in your life you do need at different times to take a leading position, whether it's because you're a parent, or you're taking care of old people, or you're in a sport, or you're in a business, or wherever you are. At some point in time you do have to act in some way as a leader, and I think it's finding that strength within. That's that light. It helps you discover that light that you have, and we all have this special light. It's all different, but it is there. And finding that is part of leading, and then helping other people find it and leading them in that same sense. So it's really experiential. You're gaining that through the leading itself, and you're learning. And that way, we what people's actions teach us, and that's how we see the world. And so you're important that way, because that's how people look at you. And also, I think that in this day and age, we're not getting a lot of top-down help, it seems. So we need to structure this so that everybody in society becomes calm, and they have the same feeling about this sense of themselves. And it's a bottom-up approach. You pass it. It's almost like one of those network marketing things where everybody starts to get it and then pass it, and that change it can transform society in itself, and in the long run it becomes like a flash in the end, because it becomes dynamic. That's
I
sort of
think
how
that's a powerful lesson right there, because I think a lot of people have amazing talent or have learned amazing lessons through life, but they keep it to themselves. They have benefited from this experience or this lesson, but they keep it to themselves, rather than, as your book invites, to pass the light. And the world really would be better if people did that, shared their journey, shared their lessons. I think that we don't all have to learn by that fire is hot by getting burned. We can actually learn from
right.
someone else who has lived the experience, made the mistakes, and pointed us in the right direction. So that's amazing. Bruce, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I guess I think we're at a crossroads now in society and everything. I think people see that this is what's going on. I'm just trying to add some sort of perspective there. And in Other Light, the second book, it takes place in Jerusalem, so it's a very religious city. But the spiritualness of is common in what I'm talking about before, and how the people get along, and we locate new light passers in there, because the kids are all there. The core kids go to each of these places together, and they gather more kids and adults in the process of doing that. And you find out how that's a way out. And in fact, in Other Light, it's a different way out of the conflict that's now going on in Israel and Palestine. It shows you what it could be. And I think that's very important.
Yes, because your characters are from very different backgrounds, and yet they get along. They help each other. Their weaknesses and strengths combine, and each help each other, and then they managed to get through this experience. So that maybe we should make that required reading for those people in the war zones right now. So ladies and gentlemen, listen, this has been a really great book, a really great read for me. Instead of wasting time on things that we waste time on, curl up with a good book, and this is a good one. So you want to go get yourself Quest of the Chosen, The Journey Begins. But remember, it's a series. So as soon as you've done with that one, you can go get yourself Overlight, The Quest Continues, and then look out for the additional books that Bruce will put out in this series, the Light Passer series. Bruce, thank you so much for being my guest today. Remember, lightpassers.com. We'll put that in the credits. Thank you. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Trudy. Thank you very much for having me.